Okay, I think we're live right now. We're on live. Hi everyone. My name is Eva, and today we have a great guest, Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Hi.
Hello.
Usually it takes like couple of seconds, between we say and we need to wait until people who are like here with us online will hear. So sometimes it's like, and it's a kind of silence there. We have no feedback from the other side, but yeah, it should be fine right now. Hi, hello everyone. Please let me know if you can hear us, you can see us. If everything is okay, let me know on chat. Uh, um, if you are here, if you can see me and Sarah, and if you can hear us, please let me know. And today we will talk about mental health in the Canadian workplaces. And I'm very happy to have Sarah here, who has extremely a lot of experience in terms of mental health at the workplaces. And she for sure will share with you a lot of good practices and tips how to start implementing mental health at the workplaces. So, okay, yeah, we have first feedback. Magdalena, thank you. Hi, everything is good. So you can see us, you can hear us.
Perfect.
Perfect. Great, great, great. Okay, so today we have 1 hour, and this our webinar will be more about conversation between me and Sarah. But also, if you have any question, will you'd like to add something, please feel free to write here on chat. We will probably keep the questions till the end of our meeting, but if there is anything, like a comment to the topic we are discussing right now, please comment, and for sure Sarah will add that to her answer. So yeah, so we are here also for you, and let us know if there is anything for you extra interesting in terms of Canadian good practices. It's a great opportunity to ask Sarah about all those things. Okay, so maybe we can start. Let's start. Sarah, could you please, because I'm host, and probably I can see names I saw many times, in our webinars. So probably people know me and our company, Well.hr, but you are the one who is here for the first time, and I will love you. I'm very happy to have you here. So if you could please tell us more about yourself, your experience.
Um, Good morning from Nova Scotia, Canada. My name is Sarah Parker, and I am a mental health awareness speaker and advocate. I have lived with mental illness for 18 years at this point, and I hope that by sharing my story and my experiences, it changes the conversation around the topic of mental health and mental illness.
So yeah, and we really appreciate that you are so open, and you like to share your experience in terms of mental illness. And I don't know if that's the moment we should start about vocabulary. Like you started last time when we had this meeting, and you told me there is a huge difference between mental health and mental illness. So maybe that's the moment you can explain us a little bit about that.
No problem. So, a lot of people use mental health and mental illness interchangeably, but they're actually two completely separate topics. Mental health is a state of well being, similar to physical health. So, we do things to maintain our mental health, such as getting enough sleep, eating proper nutritious meals, going for walks, journaling. These are all things that we do to maintain our mental health. Mental illness, on the other hand, is a set of diagnostic criteria that the person has to meet. And that criteria defines the way that the person thinks, their mood, and their behavior. So I say that I am a mental health awareness speaker. So I talk about how to have a good mental health, but I live with mental illness. So when we have different months like Mental Health Awareness Month, it's really important to use the right vocabulary when talking about these topics.
Okay, thank you for making it clear at the beginning. I remember you mentioned it before when we met for the first time, and I can tell that there is a lot of going on around mental health in Poland. Especially after COVID, we started to talk about mental health. We try to measure it, mental health, but in general well-being as well. And there is a lot of initiatives like taken by employers to help their employees and leaders and so on. So if what's your opinion, for example, in Poland or in Canada, where companies start to think about supporting their employers, in terms of mental health, what are the first steps for them?
So there was a study done here in Canada of in the workforce employees in 2019. And the employees were asked, as part of this survey, their opinion and beliefs around mental health and mental illness in the workplace. 75% of respondents stated that they would not tell their employer or coworkers if they were struggling or if they were diagnosed with a mental illness. 76, so 1% more, stated that they would be supportive of other people having mental health and mental illness. And I think that statistic really drives home the point that the culture in the workplace around mental health, it's fine if somebody else has issues, but I'm not going to admit that I'm struggling. So one of the very first things that I recommend companies to do is find out what is the employee's point of view on mental health in your industry, in your workplace. And one of the best ways to do that is through surveys, anonymous surveys, so that people are not scared to share their true opinions. Sometimes there's a fear, well, if I say something, I'm not going to get that promotion. Or if I say something, I'm going to be shunned in my workplace. So if an employee survey is done, usually there's more buy-in by the employees if it is an anonymous survey where they're not going to get judged for their answers.
Mm-hmm. So first step, the survey. So ask about opinions, like directly. We go directly to employers and ask them about what are the challenges, what is their opinion, what they would like to change in terms of mental health, and what next? What do you think? What is your good practice? So we have. Mhm.
Once the survey is done, the next step is to correlate all of the results. And this is an area where human resources really can step up to the plate here. Because what they do is they start looking for patterns and they start to look at identifying a problem area that comes up over and over and over. So it could be stress around work-life balance. It could be stress around deadlines for projects being due. It could be the employees are feeling unsupported or alone in their struggles. There's no peer support. There's no support from employers regarding the topic. So once the survey is done, next step is, all right, let's look through the results. Let's spot the patterns. Where are the problem areas? And then we can address each of those areas with specific solution-based activity. One of the biggest ways that you can make changes is through education. And this interview today is one of the why I was so excited to have this opportunity, because education and conversation are the only ways that we are going to see a change in the stigma and discrimination around the topic of mental health and mental illness. It doesn't matter whether you are in Canada or in Poland, Egypt, Australia, wherever you are, mental health is a universal need. It's a universal problem that needs to be looked at. And so I was really excited to have the opportunity today to kind of share some of my experiences in this interview.
Yeah, so we can tell. I mean, please comment in chat if you agree with me or no, that in Poland there is still a lot of stigma in terms of mental illness, and we don't talk about it. I mean, it's more and more, and a huge work is done by Generation Z, who is like coming to our, to the workplaces, and they talk about it. So we can see a big difference between generations in terms of mental health and the way they talk about it. But we see that is a big challenge to start this topic, especially, among leaders, with experience, who doesn't want to, as you mentioned, the results of the survey, they can help, they can support, but they don't really feel to share what they are struggling with, at the workplace.
Yes. And one of the things that employers need to understand is that if they want to change this culture or this conversation around a topic, they're going to have to get the employees to be part of the process. There has to be buy-in by the employees. They need to see that this is a worthwhile change that needs to happen. And so one of the things that I encourage is, as a human being, most of us don't like having the finger pointed at us and you need to do this. We don't like that.
Of course, no.
We don't like that. However, if it benefits me and I see the benefit of the change, then you get participation. So some of these benefits could be mental health days. So here in Canada, we have what's called sick days. So, and employers decide on each company how many sick days an employee can have per month, per year. But mental health days are slowly becoming more common. Employers are offering of, hey, if you need this mental health day, take it. Also, if there are benefits such as rewards, like a bonus pay for taking some extracurricular training or education, if there is some trying to think of something other than a financial reward, because finances we're all pretty much
Yeah.
motivated by. They're, like I said, the employees need to see that this conversation around mental health and mental illness is actually a benefit to them. And if they don't see that benefit, they're not going to participate, and you will be fighting an uphill battle to get this changed in the workplace.
So you mentioned it's very important to involve employees in the change, right? So
Yes.
how can we do that? I mean, we ask them, we start a survey, and what do you mean, like to create a solution with them, to involve them in the working group, or help asking them for, okay.
So there's a few different ways that you can approach this. So we've determined what the problem areas are, and we've also determined that education needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now we need to roll out that education to employees. And what we can do is, does our employees like participating in things like what we're doing today? Is this an appropriate way for our employees to have a chance to have a say and a conversation around this topic? Or is it better for us to have team meetings in the workplace, in the office, in person? Is that a better way to have employees be part of the solution? The thing is that brainstorming with the employees will get you a better idea of what the employees think would be a solution. Once it comes down to, we don't like being told. If somebody asks us, hey, we're working on the mental health culture here in this company. What type of things would you like to see? What type of things would you be involved with? What type of things would do you feel we're actually doing good at? Because you can't always focus on the negative. If there are things that are working great, then awesome, let's expand on them. So those are some of the things or ways that you can get employees involved in the change of the culture.
You mentioned something like we are working on mental health culture. Could you please tell us, Sarah, more about that? Like, what do you mean by that? What kind of culture is, like, mental health culture?
So mental health culture is the best way to describe it. Is how the leaders, the team leads, the supervisors, and the employees work together to maintain a good mental health practice in the workplace. So things like taking appropriate breaks. If you're an industry that is always on the computer screen, that's your job, is your then actually getting up, leaving the room, and physically going for a walk for your break is more restorative than sitting here in the chair and eating your lunch. Mental health culture encourages the use of boundaries and respecting boundaries. So, for example, when you leave the workplace at, let's say, 5 p.m., you have left the workplace. You're not expected for the rest of the evening to respond to work emails and phone calls and all that. It's like, no, there's a boundary. This is my work. This is my home life. There needs to be a separation between the two. Boundaries around how to ask for help. When is it appropriate to ask for help? When isn't it appropriate? Workplace mental health culture is the things that we have built into our day that maintain our mental health while we are at work. That's the best way to describe it. It's things that we do in the workplace to maintain mental health. Yeah, and that's with the most benefit.
And you mentioned leader at the beginning of your answering and defining me mental health culture. So what in your opinion, in your experience, what role is like the leader, and what he or she should do about that?
So the leaders have such a big role within mental health. One of the biggest things that they can do is model the behavior and expectations of their employees. So if you are saying to your employees, it's important that when you leave the office, I'm not going to be calling you, I'm not going to be texting you, I'm not going to be emailing you. Like, the leader, the team leader, has to model that. So setting boundaries, employees learn by watching and observing. And so if they see the leader putting importance on these certain things, such as going and taking a break and going for walks, doing peer-related activities, doing a yoga class, then employees will have the ability to actually see it in practice and then start to model their behavior around those things. Other things that leaders can do, one of the besides the definitions of mental health and mental illness, the other one that I like to stress is the skill of active listening.
Mm-hmm.
Active listening is where you are listening to what the other person has to say without the intent to respond. For example, you are having a conversation with someone at work, and they're on their phone. Yeah, I'm listening. Yep. Is this active listening? No. People see the phone and they're like, what's the point of talking to her? She's not even hearing a word I say. Other active listening things would be appropriate eye contact, nodding, smiling, leaning into the conversation. Body language is so huge in active listening. If you're trying to talk to somebody who's looking like this, then you don't feel listened to. a lot of people, they are thinking to respond. So you're talking about taking breaks, and I'm like, okay, I got to mention this, I got to mention this, I got to mention this.
Yeah.
And I've just missed an entire point of the conversation. Yes, listening, active listening is really important for everybody to do. The other thing that a leader can do to improve workplace mental health culture is that your side? Oh,
It's our alert. We both received. We're sorry, but there are some issues here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, with the water. So we both received. You just finished active listening, right? The part, but yeah, it's an alert from the government. So yeah.
So one of the things that a leader can do is provide an environment of emotional safety where employees actually feel safe approaching the leader and saying, hey, I'm struggling with this. I don't know what to do. We as human beings are programmed not to show weakness, to not be vulnerable. And so a leader needs to create this atmosphere where their employees feel safe exposing a problem, exposing a weakness, exposing a vulnerability because they need help. And this comes back down to modeling good behavior, because if this employee sees that the leader is not doing the right things for somebody else, do you think they will feel safe themselves going in and speaking to this leader? No. So there's a lot of different things that leaders can do to change the mental health culture within the workplace.
a lot of a lot of question appears in my mind listening to you, because like you said, leader and the role model in terms of how he or she behaves, and the trust they need to build between the team and the leader. That's another story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I would like to share my, I mean, I'm not gonna to share my weakness when I don't trust my leader, when I don't feel comfortable, when I'm not included to the team, when I'm not the part of the team. It's very interesting because recently we had a couple of workshops about diversity, equity, inclusion, and the solution is that, more or less, I wouldn't say just in one word, that the emotional safety is extremely important, because it's not enough to have like diverse team. They need to feel comfortable and safe to share their ideas and to be creative. So the role of leader is extremely important, like just you mentioned. um uh, uh the thing I would like to ask you is about the stigma surrounding mental illness at the workplace. How you think, how we should deal with it? As it you mentioned leader, right, is a crucial part of the talking about that, helping others.
Um, so, as I said in my introduction, I've lived with mental illness now for 18 years.
Yeah.
And I have had a variety of jobs. And here are some of the things that I experienced that I wish would have been changed. I did a lot of what's called pre-hospital care. So
Mhm.
I was working within healthcare. I was looking after vulnerable persons. So when you are working in that role, it takes a lot out of you emotionally as well as physically.
For sure.
The issue that I ran into is when I went to ask my team leader for help, I suddenly stopped being invited to things. I suddenly stopped, I wasn't being included. I was told that I was making other people on the staff feel uncomfortable and that I shouldn't talk about mental illness and my experiences with it. That hurt. Like, that's just plain old hurt. I went and asked for help, and that help wasn't given. And in fact, I had faced negative repercussions for doing that. I also, one of the things that I live with is post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. I lived through an apartment fire. I was about 10 feet from the flames that night. Just this past Monday was Canada Day celebrations, and somebody decided that they were going to put sparklers behind me going off. And all I could smell was furniture burning. That's all that my head was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. This isn't safe. Total flashback to that fire. Mental illness isn't something that can be confined to one small little box. It spreads out into all aspects of your life, into your work life, into your personal life, into volunteering, all of those things. At different points in my work history, I had to take a sick leave because I had reached the point of burnout, and I did not have the reserves to continue to work. I needed a break. There are things that the employer can put in place to make sure that they get these employees back into the workforce. So one of the biggest things is easing the person into the job again.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of this person has been off for 6 months for sick leave, they come back and you've thrown them back into a 40-hour week. They've been gone for 6 months. There's been a bunch of changes in policy and procedure. They have to go through a new onboarding process. That alone will send them back onto sick leave. You need to ease them back into the workforce. So instead of bringing them back full-time, maybe do a part-time. Maybe instead of doing 40 hours a week, let's start you out with 20 hours a week for a couple of weeks and see how you do. Are you getting the support that you need? Do you feel like you have the capacity to increase and go back to full-time hours? Other things could be accommodations. The reasons that people go out on sick leave, in my case, one of them was a lot of sensory issues.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that there had been prior workshops on diversity and inclusion, and some of that includes wearing a set of headphones. It could include wearing a set of tinted sunglasses. It could include making sure that they get their regulated 15-minute break in the morning, their full lunch, and their full break in the afternoon, that they're not asked to do more. It could be as simple as giving them a stool to sit on if their job is to stand on their feet for the entire shift. So there are different ways that way. The biggest thing, though, is ask the employee what they need to come back. Because making assumptions and putting accommodations in place that aren't actually helping the situation is inefficient. It's not effective. It's a waste of money and time on everybody's side. So having those individual one-on-one conversations of, hey, welcome back. We're glad to see you. How can we make this transition back into the workforce work for you?
So I try to sum up everything what you just said. So it's for sure it's very important to have procedures. You have some checklists for example, HR departments for leaders to make them easier to understand or help them to do. But the most important is one-to-one conversation, right? And be open for like individual struggles, like at the end of the day we are individuals and we have different challenges, both work and personal life, right? Yeah, so that's the thing I keep like, because especially in the big organization we are looking for some quick solution, like the easiest and quick solution. Like very common in Poland is, for example, when we start to think about doing something for mental health, we start from, as you said, education is very important, but that's just the one part of it, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of employers, they do, like, for example, webinars about stress or about, other like mental health issues or emotional safety. And that's it. Like, I mean, that's something they do. We are done. We've done that. So we just would like tell that it's kind of not everything. It's a lot. Education is a lot, but there is much more. And unfortunately, it's more like individual work, right? With the people, especially with the ones who are struggling with mental illness, and they would like to be back at the
Yes.
workplace.
The other important thing that I have to stress is there has to be follow through. Don't promise something that you're not going to follow through on. So, for example, if you have promised that they can use their headphones during the workday, but then you have a team leader going, well, if we give you the headphones, then everybody has to get the headphones, and no, you're not allowed to have them. If you have promised something as a company, as an employer, to help this individual return to the workforce or stay in the workforce, then it needs to be followed up on. And one of the best ways to do that is through a check-in. So make it part of the policy that, let's say in 1 month's time, hey, how you doing? I just wanted to follow up. Is this still okay? Is it working for you? Do we need to make changes? 3 months down the road, hey, just following up. How are you doing? And as the time goes by, this is also how you build loyalty in your employees, because they want to stay and work for an employer that values them and follows through on the promises made to them.
So the follow-up you just mentioned, you see it like an HR role to do that?
Yes, HR or team lead specifically. If it's a small company, like if you're entrepreneur, then the person who started the business holds many hats.
Yeah.
And so when you have bigger companies, yes, I think it's definitely a role for human resources. But also, I think people really appreciate when team leads also step up to the plate, because these team leaders are the ones that see this individual day after day after day. HR is in a separate department. It's a phone call or an email away. They may not have eyes on the situation. Team leaders do. And so I think follow up should be both HR and team leaders' roles. And the other thing is that it's just common courtesy and respect to ask somebody how they're doing. How are you? How are the kids? You want to build a rapport with your employees. And one of the things to do that by is through following up and actually having conversations with them.
I'm smiling because that's something, it's a big difference between Polish people and Canadian. Like for you, it's so simple to say, hi, how are you? And, the open conversation with the small talk. And for us Polish people, it's not so easy. It's not so easy. It's something I think, I totally believe we need to learn that, especially in terms of, uh, at the in a not only always personal life but business life. It makes easier in a lot of different situations. And yeah, so maybe that can be as simple as that, to start, hey, how are you, like you guys do here in Canada, intentionally. Really, I mean, I would like to ask, how are you, like, if everything is fine, how are you feeling, especially when you're back at work, right? And the one thing I would like to ask you, if you have any question to Sarah, that's the moment. I think that's the moment you can ask. If you don't feel comfortable writing in English, that's also fine. I can translate it. You can write in Polish, whatever you have in your mind, or comments, or just please feel free to do that. We have, like, I think 10, 15 minutes more. You know what? I was thinking about, have you ever had this challenge in your project when you were, like, implementing this initiatives, in terms of increasing mental health, better mental health at the workplaces, that people were like, okay, that person, for example, can wear headphones, and this person is allowed to do so. We are not. So it's not equal. Have you ever faced, that this kind of, we want to be treated equal as employers, but we are not, because this person who struggled in the past with mental health, it might be easier for him or her in some conditions, or maybe goals are not as high as the others, or maybe, as you said, they work on a part-time. Have you ever faced this challenge?
It is a very common challenge because, as you said, everybody wants to be treated equally. And as a result, we don't like it if other people are being what we consider the saying is being made special.
Yeah,
They're special. They're allowed and I'm not. It's not fair.
it's
That's
not.
that's that's the term right there. It's not fair. Why do they get it and I don't? Um, Sometimes it reminds me of, a toddler, stomping their feet. Why don't I get it? I want that too.
Actually, that's my daughter say to me like every day. Actually, that's not fair.
So here's the way that I look at this situation. Is this accommodation something that could be implemented so that everybody has access to it? Is it really an accommodation set aside? Well, it's only if you have problems with your back that you're allowed to have a stool.
Mm-hmm.
Or do we make it so that everybody has the ability to have a stool if they want? Switch it from employer-led to employee-led. Is it really such a bad thing to let all people use their headphones? Or like why is it only one person allowed? If it's really that special of an accommodation, people are going to like, well, why can't I? If they can have it, why can't I? And so when employers start to look at it, okay, if everybody has the option, then they can do what is good for them. Some people don't even know that that's an accommodation they can ask for.
Sure.
So unless it comes back down to education, unless there has been education done, then it's the same as if somebody coming to work who has a seizure disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And so they possibly have a service animal, a dog that comes with them. There has to be education done with everybody of this is what a seizure looks like. This is what you have to do for the seizure. This is what should be done afterwards. There's an education component. That animal that they have is an accommodation. That animal is specifically trained to deal with that situation. Would it make sense for the company to allow everybody to bring their dog in? No. Because then you have utter chaos unless they're well-behaved animals. You got to look at, is the accommodation something that is special to that one person? Or is this something that we can implement company-wide? And it comes back to keeping our workforce. If somebody needs the headphones, the noise canceling headphones, in order to be more effective and they're putting out better work, and why not allow them to wear headphones? It comes down to the company looking at it and saying, is this really that big of a deal to implement? Does it make sense to implement it company-wide versus a special case? Does that make sense? I'm not
Oh
sure.
yeah, of course,
Okay.
totally yes. The example with headphones, it's I think that it's very easy to understand because especially when we work at the open space, for
Mhm.
sure that when we go deeper, there are a lot of different things that might not be so easy. But the idea for me, it's clear. Like if you can change and create better workplace for everyone, why not, right? Of course it's not always possible, it might be not always possible, but then it's good to I think I found that with the different project with my clients that communication is a key,
Mhm.
and it's the way you communicate, what you say and how you say things that always help. People don't create then make assumptions when they know what it is and how it is.
Mhm.
So that's another story about the communication, but we won't even start this topic right now, of course. But But yeah, I think you agree with me that the communication of the mental health and how we implement the things and why, that's a big thing, right?
Mhm. I totally agree.
Okay. If you please, if you have any questions to Sarah, you can write them right now. Um, I think I'm done with all my questions to you, Sarah. We prepared this sort, agenda of the topics, and I think we covered everything. Maybe you would like to ask something. Is there something I didn't ask you, or there is something really important you would like to just, at the end,
I
to sum
think
it?
I think in summary,
Yeah.
the thing that people need to remember is you do not need a diagnosis or a label in order to help somebody. What I have found is that people want to help. They want to help. They just don't know how. And we get caught up on these labels. Oh, that person's schizophrenic. Oh, that person is depressed. Oh, that person has OCD, occupation. It, we need to remember that there is a human being beyond that label. And we don't need a label to help somebody. Checking in on somebody and asking how they are, offering support, bringing them a meal if they're sick, taking the kids for an afternoon so that they can have a stress-free day. It comes back to the golden rule of you treat other people the way that you would like to be treated. And if you want to be treated with respect and with the ability to make choices, autonomy, then you need to give those to other people as well. Um, so the biggest thing is that when you go to help somebody, ask them what help they need. And it could be as simple as, hey, I'm lonely. Can you come sit with me? Or, hey, I'm not feeling so good today. I really need a hug. Or, hey, like simple little things can make such a big difference in somebody's life. And you do not need a label or a diagnosis to help somebody. Treat them like a human being, treat them with respect and dignity.
Thank you, Sarah. The summary, here's my heart. It was so beautiful. I really appreciate that you found time to meet us and to talk with us about your experience. I will stay with few things for today. A lot of notes here, and I will for sure read it again. So active listening for me is a crucial when I work with team leaders and in general leaders, right? Then kindness, just as simple as that, what you just said. And another thing, trust within the team. And yes, I can tell that's something we can do in the, beside all the procedures, because it's a big thing usually, like in terms of, implementing
Mhm.
strategic changes in the organization. So it's not always as simple, but this thing you just mentioned at the end is simple. We can do it. I mean, we can change it, but ourselves. So we can start from ourselves, right, to helping
That's
others
right.
and to start helping our teammates. Thank you, Sarah. It was a pleasure
You're
for me.
you're very welcome. I'm glad that I had a chance to do this. If people want to speak to me one-on-one, I'll have you share my contact information with people as they would like to contact me. And you know, if there are other opportunities that people know that would like to have education done on mental health in the workplace or in a community setting, please let me know. I would love more opportunities to speak.
Yes, if you would like to hear more about Canadian good practices, or if you'd like to invite Sarah to your company, you can really contact us and we can arrange the meeting. We are very happy to, connect the dots and educate in terms of mental health, because we can tell that the topic is very important right now. I
It
mean, it
is.
used to be, but right now maybe it's a time we start to do it like properly.
Uh,
um, Thank you and have a great day. It was a pleasure. Thank you for us being with us, and have a good day. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.